Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Speak Easy English, your go-to English podcast for learning English and improving your life. I'm Zira, and I'm really excited to have you here today. Let me start with a question. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to completely transform their lives while others stay stuck in the same place? You see someone go from struggling to successful, and you start asking yourself, what's their secret? Are they just lucky? Or are they doing something differently? I actually had this thought recently while thinking about my own experience learning English. At the beginning, learning English felt impossible. There were so many new words, so many grammar rules, and it felt overwhelming. But slowly, little by little, things started to make sense. And I realized something important. Becoming fluent in English wasn't just about learning vocabulary. It was about building habits, changing my mindset, and actually using what I learned every day. And then it hit me. Life works the same way. Big transformations rarely happen overnight. Real change usually comes from small actions repeated every day. And that's exactly what we're talking about in today's episode. How to change your life. In today's episode, I'll also introduce intermediate English vocabulary. And later I'll explain these words in a vocabulary section so you can use them in real conversations. So by the end of this episode, you'll not only have practical steps to improve your life, but you'll also learn new English vocabulary to express your ideas more clearly. Now let's start with an important question. If change is so powerful, why do so many people struggle to change their lives? Change sounds exciting, right? A fresh start, a new beginning. But here's the truth. Most people never actually make those changes. Why? Because change is hard. Let's talk about some of the common reasons people feel stuck. First, there is fear of failure. Many people think, what if I try and fail? But here's a better question. What if you try and succeed? Every successful person has failed many times. The difference is that they did not stop. The second reason people feel stuck is lack of direction. Some people want a better life, but they don't know where to start. They think they need the perfect plan before they begin. But the truth is, action creates clarity. You don't need the perfect plan. You just need to start. Another big problem is negative self-talk. People say things like, I'll never be good at this. I'm just not a language person. I can't change. These thoughts stop progress before it even begins. And finally, one of the biggest traps is waiting for motivation. People say, I'll start when I feel ready. But here's the secret. Motivation comes after action, not before it. Once you take the first step, motivation begins to grow. This leads us to an important lesson. Understanding what is holding you back is the first step toward change. Once you recognize these barriers, you can start breaking them down. So now the next big question is, how do we actually start changing our lives? The answer is small daily improvements. Many people think change must be dramatic, but real transformation happens gradually. Have you ever heard of the 1% rule? If you improve just 1% every day, you can become 37 times better in 1 year. That's because small improvements compound over time. Just like interest in a bank account. This idea is closely connected to the power of habits. In the book Atomic Habits, the author explains that small habits shape our identity. Small changes may not feel important today, but over time, they redefine who you are. For example, reading for 10 minutes every day, practicing English for 5 minutes daily, replacing negative thoughts with positive ones. These small habits can completely transform your life. I once heard about someone who became fluent in English simply by listening to podcasts every day. They didn't start with a complicated study plan. They just took small, consistent steps. And over time, those steps created huge results. That's the key lesson. Small actions repeated consistently create big changes. But there's another powerful factor in change: your mindset. The way you think about your abilities can determine your success. Psychologists often talk about growth mindset and fixed mindset. If you have a growth mindset, you believe, I can improve. But if you have a fixed mindset, you believe, I will never be good at this. And that belief becomes your reality. Your brain also has a system called the reticular activating system. This system filters information based on what you focus on. For example, when you learn a new English word, suddenly you start hearing it everywhere. Your brain begins noticing it. The same thing happens with your thoughts. If you constantly think, I can't do this, your brain will look for evidence that proves you right. But if you say, I am improving every day, your brain will begin noticing progress. There are 3 powerful ways to train your mindset. Affirmations, positive statements like, I am improving every day. Visualization, imagining yourself succeeding. For example, imagine speaking English confidently. Gratitude, focusing on what is going well in your life. When you practice gratitude, your brain begins to see opportunities instead of obstacles. Now let's talk about another mistake people make: waiting for the perfect moment to start. Many people believe they must feel completely ready before they begin. But here's the truth: you will never feel completely ready. Confidence comes after action, not before it. There's a simple concept I love: done is better than perfect. If you wait for perfection, you will never begin. But if you take imperfect action, you start making progress. So here's a challenge for you. Think about one thing you've been postponing. Maybe it's practicing English, starting a new habit, beginning a project. Now take one small step today. Not tomorrow, not next week. Today. Because action creates momentum. And momentum builds confidence. Finally, let's talk about something extremely important: your environment. The people around you, the content you consume, and the influences in your life all shape your behavior. There's a famous quote: you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you surround yourself with negative people, it becomes difficult to stay motivated. But if you surround yourself with positive, goal-driven people, their energy influences you. So how can you build a better environment? First, follow inspiring people. That could be authors, speakers, teachers, or positive content creators. Second, join learning communities. There are many online groups where English learners practice together and support each other. Being part of a community can dramatically increase your motivation. And finally, reduce exposure to negativity. That might mean spending less time with people who complain constantly or limiting negative content online. Your environment matters more than you think. So if we had to summarize today's lesson, it would be this: you have more control over your life than you think. Small habits, a strong mindset, and a positive environment can completely transform your future. Remember, progress doesn't happen overnight, but every small step moves you closer to your goals. Before we finish today's episode, let's look at some important vocabulary words from today's discussion. These words will help you express your ideas more clearly in English. I'll explain each word and give you an example sentence. 1. Transformation, meaning a big change in someone's life or situation. Example: after years of hard work, Maria experienced a complete transformation in her career. 2. Mindset meaning. The way you think about things. Example: Jake changed his mindset about exercise and now enjoys working out every morning. 3. Surroundings meaning. The people and environment around you. Example: Anna moved to a quiet village because she wanted more positive surroundings. 4. Momentum meaning. The energy that keeps something moving or progressing. Example: Once Daniel started writing every day. He built momentum and finished his book. 5. Exposure meaning. The amount of contact you have with something. Example: Watching English movies increases your exposure to natural English. 6. Growth-driven meaning. Focused on improving and becoming better. Example: Leo joined a growth-driven study group that encouraged him to keep learning. 7. Visualization meaning. Creating a mental image of success. Example: Before giving a presentation, Mark practices visualization and imagines speaking confidently. 8. Affirmation meaning. A positive statement you repeat to encourage yourself. Example: Every morning Jane says this affirmation: I am capable and improving every day. 9. Community meaning. A group of people who share the same interest or goal. Example: David joined an English learning community online to practice speaking. 10. Accountable meaning. Taking responsibility for your progress. Example: Mia writes down her weekly goals to stay accountable. Great job! Try using these words in your own sentences. This is one of the best ways to remember new vocabulary and improve your English speaking skills. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode from Speakeasy English. And I'd love to hear from you. What is one small change you will start today? Let me know. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe, share it with a friend, and keep learning. I'll see you next time. And remember, your progress starts with one small step today.